Hey everyone, I'm Eric, and welcome to our show where we break down big ideas into simple, practical frameworks. Today we're diving into something that, let's be honest, most of us dread: negotiation. But we're going to change that. Let's get right into it.
So, let me start by asking you, what's the first thing that pops into your head when you hear the word negotiation? For a lot of us, it's probably something like conflict, right? Stress, a high-stakes game you have to win.
Just think about buying a house. Say your absolute max is $5.5 million, and you're pretty sure the seller's minimum is $4.5 million. So what usually happens? It's this long, painful tug-of-war. You start with a crazy low offer, they hit back with a super high price, and you just grind it out. It feels like a zero-sum game, where for you to win $1, they have to lose $1. It's just exhausting, and honestly, nobody walks away feeling great.
But what if I told you there's a better way, a radically simpler way? Today, we're unpacking the framework from Splitting the Pie by Barry Nalebuff. And listen, this isn't some academic in an ivory tower. Nalebuff is a Yale professor, sure, but he's also a world-class game theory expert who actually built a company, Honest Tea, and sold it to Coca-Cola. So his ideas are battle-tested in the real world, and they're going to completely change how you see your next deal.
All right, so the very first thing we have to do is completely change our definition of the pie. What are we actually negotiating over? Getting this right is the foundation for everything that follows. Then, we'll get into the simple rule for splitting it, and finally, how to use this stuff in the real world.
So, what is the pie? Here's the big idea from Nalebuff. The pie isn't the total price of the house. It's not the total salary. The pie is what he calls the cooperative surplus. That's the extra bit of value that gets created only because you two decided to work together. If there's no deal, that value, it just vanishes. It doesn't exist. Let's jump back to our house example. Your maximum budget, that $5.5 million, that's your BATNA, your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. It's your walkaway point. The seller's minimum, $4.5 million, that's their BATNA. The key thing here is that you both are 100% essential. Without both of you, there's no deal.
And this is where it gets really interesting. The difference between your max and their min, $5.5 million minus $4.5 million, is $1 million. That is the cooperative surplus. That $1 million is the actual pie you're negotiating. All of a sudden, you're not fighting over a $5 million house. You are partners trying to figure out how to split a $1 million surplus that you literally created together right now.
This simple reframe is so powerful. Think about it in a salary negotiation. Instead of just saying, hey, I want more money, you could frame it like this. Look, if I stay, the company avoids spending time and money to recruit and train my replacement. That creates, let's say, $10,000 of value. See? Now you're not just demanding something. You're inviting your boss to collaborate on how to fairly split the new value you're both creating. The whole dynamic shifts from a fight to a partnership.
Okay, so once we've figured out what the pie is, that cooperative surplus, the next question is obvious, right? How do we split it? And this brings us to the absolute core of Nalebuff's entire framework. And the rule is, honestly, it's shockingly simple. For the value that exists only because you both showed up, you both have an equal claim to it. The fairest way to divide it is 50-50, 1/2 each. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. Eric, come on, that's way too idealistic. The real world is not that simple.
Exactly. What about power? What about leverage? What if you have a way better alternative? Doesn't the stronger person deserve a bigger piece of the pie? This is the #1 objection, and believe me, the framework has a brilliant answer.
Okay, this is the most crucial insight of all. Your power, your leverage, it doesn't justify an unfair split like 70-30. Instead, your power is already baked in because it determines the size of the entire pie before you even start talking about splitting it. Your BATNA sets the starting line.
So let's look at scenario 1. The pie is $1 million. A 50-50 split means you each get $500,000. So the fair sale price is the seller's minimum of $4.5 million plus their half, which equals $5 million. Simple, logical, and totally defensible.
But now, watch what happens. Let's say the seller gets another offer for $4.7 million. Suddenly, their BATNA is better. They have more power. Well, now the pie is your max of 5.5 minus their new minimum of 4.7, which is only $800,000. The pie got smaller. We apply the same 50-50 rule, you each get $400,000. The new fair price? $4.7 million plus their $400K share, which is $5.1 million. See how that works? The seller's power got them a higher price, but the principle of a fair 50-50 split held perfectly firm. It's brilliant. All right, theory is great, but we all know the real world is a lot messier. So let's talk about 3 really practical strategies for when you move from the idea to the actual negotiation table.
So, before you ever start splitting the pie, your first move should always be to try and grow it. You've got to look for value that isn't just about the money. Maybe the seller is in a huge hurry to move. Well, an all-cash, quick close could be incredibly valuable to them, but not a big deal for you. Or maybe they poured their heart into the garden and are sad to leave it. Offering to take care of it could solve a huge emotional issue for them. The key is to ask why, to figure out what they really care about, time, risk, convenience, and find creative ways to make the total pie bigger for everyone.
Okay, but what about the scenario we all fear? You propose this logical, fair approach, and the other person just looks at you and says, "Nope, I want 70%. This is where things can get ugly fast. Here's your secret weapon. You don't argue about the numbers. You elevate the discussion. You calmly say, "I understand you want more. My proposal is based on the principle that we should share the value we're creating equally. If you feel 50-50 isn't fair, can you propose a principle that you believe is more fair?" This completely flips the script. It puts the burden on them to justify their position based on fairness, not just on wanting more. And that is very, very hard for them to do.
Okay, final strategy. What if you're flying blind? Like in a job interview, you have no idea what their max salary is. The trick here is to use the principle to draw out information. Don't start by throwing out a number. Start by proposing the framework. You could say something like, "My philosophy is that I should be paid based on the value I create for the company, shared fairly. Based on that principle, what do you think a fair offer is? And could you walk me through how you calculated it?" Now you're making them reveal information and defend their offer using your framework of fairness.
So let's pull all of this together. What this framework really does is shift your entire mindset. You're not a warrior fighting for every last scrap. You're a collaborator trying to solve a puzzle with someone else.
So here it is, your new negotiation playbook in 4 simple steps. Step 1, figure out the walkaway points for both sides, the BATNS. Step 2, calculate the pie, that cooperative surplus that you're creating together. Step 3, propose the simple, fair, and powerful 50-50 split. And step 4, always be looking for ways to work together to make that pie even bigger for everyone.
Because at the end of the day, the goal here isn't to conquer your opponent. It's to work with them to solve a value equation. And when you approach it this way, you don't just get a fair deal. You build respect, you build trust, you build relationships that last. You turn a stressful fight into an empowering act of creating value together.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. The next time you walk into a negotiation, how are you going to calculate the pie you're creating together?
If you found this framework useful, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who could use it. And let us know in the comments what book or big idea you want us to tackle next. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Eric, and I'll see you next time.